Наступна зупинка – станція Перемога.
Борітеся, поборете! Вам Бог помагає! За вас правда, за вас сила і воля свята!
Сміливість – це тоді, коли страшно. Але ти маєш щось більше за страх. Щось важливіше. І ти готовий заради цього померти. І ти готовий заради цього жити. І ти смієшся. Сміливість не завжди обирає сильних. Вона дає сили. Сміливість – це бути Україною.
Good afternoon. My name is Olena Molotkova, and I'm a businessman, development manager for the Confederation of Builders on Ukraine. I am opening the Recovery Construction Forum 3.0. It is the third time that we are organizing this forum with our reliable partners, Premier Expo, and we are really grateful and we hope for fruitful further collaboration. Today, we're going to discuss the current situation in Ukraine, the main challenges in recovery, and the ways towards recovery. And we're going to talk with experts about the priorities in the reconstruction and recovery of Ukraine with practical aspects. I invite the representatives of the organizers of our forum to say the introductory word, Lev Perkadze and Yaroslav Lashenko. Please take the floor, gentlemen. Hello, good afternoon, and I would like to welcome you at the opening of our third Recovery Construction Forum that we have organized with our key partner, the Confederation of Ukrainian Builders. On behalf of the organizer of this exhibition, I would like to thank everyone who has joined this important event and those who have already actively been taking part in the recovery of Ukraine. And we have organized this for the third time in Warsaw, and today we're going to present practical reconstruction recovery cases in Ukraine. And a big thank you to everyone, and I hope you're going to have fruitful networking and a beautiful expo. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for coming here to join us at the forum, and a big thank you to all countries, all governments that have been helping us for those 3 years and are still helping us with military and technical and psychological and mental support. And our families have found shelter there, and we are deeply thankful for that. So we're gathering here for the third time to discuss the strategy for the future for the recovery of our country. And today we're going to have 4 blocks. The first block is going to be represented by government administration representatives. Were going to moderate that, as well as Kate Golling and the president of the European Federation of Building Construction Industry, and also the head of construction issues in Ukraine. And then we're going to have a discussion panel on the recovery of Ukraine now with new challenges. The moderator will be Dominika Coppergrant, the General Director of the Federation of the Construction Industry, and then open dialogue with government representatives will be moderated by Petro Perko, who is the chair of the Federation of European Construction Industry. And the last discussion will be devoted to practical recovery cases and the potential of recycling in Ukraine, and it will be moderated by Olena Poltit, the head of Ukraine Support Team Coalition. Dear friends, we have been active in involving all of the world. And yesterday we had a wonderful meeting with our Finnish partners, and a big thank you to Business Finland for the organization. And yesterday we also met with INGA, which is the Alliance of the design of hospitals, and now we are working to develop typical hospital design projects to make sure that once the war is over, we're going to have many hospitals, childcare facilities, and healthcare facilities, and to make sure that this is all free of charge. And of course, we're going to have many other projects, and we also have managed to save quite a lot of funds and accelerate the time. So now I would like to invite our speakers on stage, our colleagues, yes, Katie Toning, yes, please, head of the FICEC, and then Sergei Skonin, the head of the Ukraine's Agency for Restoration and Development of Infrastructure, and Jakub Borodynski, Director General for Internal Market Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs from European Commission, Vegard Grosli Vinensland, State Secretary, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries on Norway. And I suggest that we should start with a small video and then we will continue.
Господи, хлопці!
So good afternoon. Before handing over the panelists, I would like to say a few words about the Ukraine Task Force, which FIEC has set up in cooperation with our sister organization, the European International Contractors. The task force was established in the summer of 2022. It focuses on issues related to the reconstruction phase of Ukraine, namely monitoring, developing, and building links between different stakeholders. In addition, we wish to support our Ukrainian member federation, Confederation of Builders of Ukraine, in terms of training and learning needs. Due to the interest of various stakeholders in the construction value chain, our task force has been expanded to include participants from outside FIEC, the increased number of stakeholders means that it is essential to centralize information and coordinate possible initiatives through FIEC. Examples of such initiatives include a memorandum of understanding on sustainable reconstruction in Ukraine that we signed with the European Federation of Building and Woodworkers here in Warsaw last year. We also published a set of recommendations for international donors on the future reconstruction of Ukraine, which we have also presented at previous editions of this event. FIEC is currently exploring ways in which we can provide financial support for specific reconstruction projects in Ukraine. We encourage our members and the participants in the task force to make targeted donations if possible. And finally, I would just like to add that the European Commission and representatives of the Ukraine mission to the EU regularly attend our meetings. So, to the first panelist, and I'm very pleased to have you here, Sergei Sukhomlin. Last year, I took part in an open dialogue with your predecessor, Mustafa Masinaye. One of the issues we touched on was the potential adoption of EU standards in reconstruction plans and the rising cost of reconstruction needs. Can you comment on this? And in addition, I would like to ask you what changes have taken place in the State Agency for Restoration and Infrastructure Development of Ukraine in recent months.
Hello and a very good afternoon. And I have just looked at this video reel that we were looking at. And let me just say that people who are living in Ukraine during the war, they are really having a different perspective versus those who are not living in Ukraine during the war. It's really hard for them to understand the content of this reel. Today, Ukrainian communities, they live, they raise children, they get prizes for sports achievements, and this shows the resilience of Ukrainian nation. And a big thank you to Europe and all of our partners for the support of Ukraine in such a complicated time. Today, we're going to talk about the recovery and the different approaches to recovery. And we would like to also discuss something. Yes, I'm going to show you my presentation. Let me just tell you about the priorities that our Agency for Recovery is putting forward. And the first question that I would like to turn to next year, it is the construction of social housing. And let me thank European Commission for the fact that to thank them for the project, thanks to which a number of regions have this experience of building social housing, and many families are going to get social housing next year. For the moment, our country are more ambitious. At the moment, 50,000 apartments are going to be built in Ukraine in the first stage to make sure that we can provide housing to people who lost housing. And then this is another argument to make sure that our people can come back home. And we do need millions and millions of square meters of housing. And this is where the possibility for businesses opens up. We need technologies, we need construction materials and other building construction services. The next project is a simpler project. Our agency is going to implement that. This is going to be an energy efficiency initiative. We're going to upgrade community street lighting in our communities. Why is that? Because there are many local communities in Ukraine which do not have any experience in implementing projects with our donors. So on the one hand, we can save up almost 500 gigawatts of energy per year. And then, on the other hand, communities can get experience and competences and continue to implement more complicated projects. And then the next project that we're going to implement with Ukrainian communities is a solar power plant construction to ensure that there is enough energy and also there is a water supply program. So we will provide energy for strategic companies such as water canals, and we will provide energy and we will add systems for energy efficiency. And this will help us to save up to 25% of energy consumption. So the estimated capacity is 400 megawatts. And then our agency this year started a project to ensure water supply for Mykolaiv, which is a big city in Ukraine. For over 2 years, people have no clean running water, and we have started constructing water main system for Mykolaiv and the communities around the city. So we're starting with Mykolaiv. And then in parallel, we are developing a project on speed recovery of Mykolaiv infrastructure, and we already have two projects that will be in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast and Odessa Oblast. That will be the water supply system, which will be recovered. Construction is one thing, and then frontline logistics is another one. We're going to step up efforts to stop the military aggression from Russia, and we will need to provide frontline logistics and repair roads only to secure the needs of our military and to open roads and entry checkpoints on the border with European Union. And in parallel, our agency also engages in social reconstruction and the reconstruction of just housing. For the moment, we are rebuilding 574 facilities. At the moment, Ukraine has recorded 137 destroyed or damaged bridges in the territories under Ukraine's control. So after the war, this will represent a big challenge for new technologies and for new investments. And in parallel, I would like to say that our agency is running a transformation. We're changing our structure to make sure that we increase our capacity and performance for implementation of large-scale projects. And we want to increase the transparency of our work as well. We have a very clear understanding that without the business sector, the major businesses, the recovery of Ukraine would be impossible only if we rely on loans and credit facilities. So we have established public-private partnership projects in order to involve businesses in the recovery of Ukraine. There will be companies involved in the construction of power plants, construction of roads and other projects. And it is really important for us to make sure that this model has a large capacity and that these projects find good implementation in communities and for the country as a whole. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And let me follow up with a question. As Ukraine is on the EU access track, buildings and infrastructure should be procured, designed, and rebuilt sustainably and in accordance with European standards. Last year we asked whether this is already being considered in the reconstruction plans. Can you give us some updates on the progress made within the past year?
Можна допомогти мені? Да. Я не зовсім зрозумів одне питання.
Sorry, could you please repeat the question? Thank you. Still, we have got much to do, for example, with regard to the standardization and transition to the European legislation procedures. We can say that we haven't managed to work out appropriate building investment standards so far. For now, today, it is important to be able to learn to implement best European standards. We wouldn't like to apply the old type we did things. We would like to implement quality methods and borrow them from the European colleagues. I would like to invite our next speaker, Brakowiecki, representative of the European General for the Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship, and ESMES, European Commission. In the condition of the full-scale reconstruction of our country, for us it is essential to know how the country is going to develop within the next years, and what should Ukraine focus on with regard to the construction industry.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to be participating in this conference, which is a joint venture between the Ukrainian Federation of Construction Industry and European Association. I have a pleasure to represent the department of the Commission that is in charge of industrial policy and single market. So one of our teams is specifically working on the policy for the construction ecosystem, which is obviously critically important for the European economy. But maybe let me make two general observations. I think that, and this was very much what my predecessors has also mentioned, this formidable challenge of recovery and reconstruction, which is caused by the destruction carried out by Russian aggressors. You know, it is also de facto create an opportunity for modernization, for rebuilding Ukraine in a way that is really modern, adapted to the societal needs. That's the first point. The second, the accession process of Ukraine towards the European Union, it is not just the formal, negotiations and the formal membership that will come one day, but these are the efforts we are taking as of now, and they haven't started obviously today, of including our Ukrainian partners in different policies and processes and actions that are happening at European level. And indeed, let me tell you about few elements where we indeed very much count on active engagement of Ukraine, both at a governmental level, but very much also at the level of the industry. So let me first maybe mention the transition pathway for construction industry. This is the result of the industrial strategy that the Commission adopted 5 years ago. And the idea was that basically industrial stakeholders, together with the authorities, come up with a basically long-term strategic plan of what it needs to basically have a modern, competitive, decarbonized construction industry. That includes measure in the area of regulation, but it's also a lot about skills and financing. It is ultimately about the commitment and pledges that different industry players make of how they want basically to transform their business also at the level of a company. So I would say, yes, this is also an opportunity for the Ukrainian, maybe building federation, but also the companies to actually join this kind of collaborative effort. You asked me about the policies. We have a number. We have now. We are in the process of transition, so that's also why we didn't have a commissioner here today with us at this event, which otherwise I would say would be very, very likely given the importance we attach to that. But as of December, we will have a new commission in place, and one of the first actions would be Clean Industrial Deal, which would be a vision of how we want actually to have the industrial policy, industrial strategy be taken forward in the next 5 years. But there are also some specific elements in the context of construction sectors that I would mention. That is the regulation on construction products and an idea which we are working on already for a number of years of developing a digital product passport that would be a very important way to facilitate the work of the businesses and present basically for the customers, for the consumer, clear information about it. So we very much also are calling upon Ukrainian authorities to basically get ready to have this new construction products regulation to be implemented into the Ukrainian legislation. Because as I said, this adaptation of legislation does not come on the day of accession. It is happening now. Another venue where we would very much like to have Ukrainian partners is the High-Level Construction Forum. It is basically an informal but very important platform which brings together industrial association, companies, public authorities, civil societies, researchers in the area of construction. It's around now has 1,000 members. It is a forum to discuss the future of the construction policy, and we also would like very much to have partners from Ukraine. The next online meeting is still this month, which is, again, to give you a very idea of what we are talking about. Then we would be discussing off-site construction, prefabrication as a way to improve productivity. Ukraine, of course, is facing formidable problems related to the destruction, but we have a major housing crisis also in Europe, so this is also, an opportunity for new creative ways to engage. Another type of policy which is very important is EU construction and demolition waste management protocol. This is how one should dispose hazardous waste materials. And again, this is the part of the standards that you have also mentioned, which we very much are looking forward to be part of the vision of reconstruction that Ukraine will have. I think these are, and then maybe the last example of that is the opportunity that digitalization process create for the construction industry. I mentioned digital product passport, which is a horizontal measure, but we also are now in the process of harmonizing more than 50 standards in view of digitalization, and we welcome very much Ukraine plans to introduce in next year national building information modeling education programs for the industry. Digital building permits, it is another kind of tool that we would be encouraging Ukrainian companies and authorities to embrace. So to conclude, Europe is basically facing a major transformation, and we very much need to make sure that Ukraine, even without being yet a full member of the European Union, is fully part of this process.
Thank you very much. I would like to remind you that since 2022, we have implemented the regulation of European Union 305 on the quality of products, and this means that the quality of all of production in Ukraine is compliant with European standards, or is required to comply with European standards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to follow up with the next question for Jakub. The European Union provides substantial support to Ukraine, not only on political and financial levels, but also in shaping a roadmap for future EU membership. In the context of Ukraine's reconstruction, accelerating integration with the EU is a key objective for Ukraine. What recommendations can DG GROW provide to the country's government and business right now to speed up Ukraine's integration into the EU and ensure the quality and speedy reconstruction of Ukraine?
Thank you very much for that question. I would like to indeed mention a number of important points which are critical. We now, and this is actually what my team is directly working on, is the basically transposition of European regulation on market surveillance that is related very much to ensuring that products meet legal requirements. That includes also construction products. We very much welcome the fact that in spite of the war, the Ukrainian government has resumed inspections. We know that inspections are seen as burdened by business, but in the large scale of things, this is extremely important to build trust that basically Ukrainian products are at the same level as European products, and these efforts, which also, as I say, cover construction materials, are very necessary for the future negotiation of ACA. That is a specific agreement which maybe in a simplified manner can be called like a passport for industrial products for a basically smooth trade between the Ukraine and the European Union before Ukraine becomes the member. So this is also a specific recommendation for actually activity of the government in this field. And it is overall, I would say, the alignment with standards. And alignment with standards means not only that basically this becomes of the Ukrainian law, but there is basically effective enforcement. That is effective enforcement that those standards are really followed in practice. So we very much would like to basically further roll out programs which support SMEs that are the backbone of European economy, Ukrainian economy, and of course are also very important in the construction sector. We welcome the strategy of Ukrainian government for SMEs. Again, it's very important that it's implemented in practice. We very much support and recommend renewed efforts in investment in training and reskilling. And again, the occasion is to invite our Ukrainian partners to join EU-level initiatives in that field, such as, Partnership for Skills, which also covers construction sector, which is Partnership for Skills are basically, again, industry-led agreements and pledges about reskilling and upskilling workers in specific, in specific professions that are, again, relevant for construction industry and especially relevant for the innovative part of this. Next year, we also are very much in line with Ukrainian plan. We are calling on Ukrainian authorities to continue deregulation and digitalization of permitting procedures to improve business climate. And again, for construction investment, obviously, it goes without saying. The question of credibility and also, ultimately the capacity of Ukraine to attract foreign investors and to be able to have a big joint investment project is, of course, very important that there is a perception that Ukraine is making progress in fighting corruption and improving business climate in Ukraine. The most recent enlargement report that was published basically now enlargement report is basically an annual kind of state of play assessment by the Commission of the progress that country does on the path of accession, policy by policy, chapter by chapter of the future accession agreement, notes that there is a progress. I mean, we see that the efforts are being taken, but clearly, a lot needs to be done to reassure European businesses, but ultimately also Ukrainian businesses, because the risks related to investment, are in that sense shared by both communities. So we very much call upon the Commission calls upon Ukrainian government to show commitment to the anti-corruption policy, and in that sense, effective prosecution of high-level corruption is, of course, one of those very important signals that that Ukraine can make. Well, I'm not sure if all of you have been basically in the investment conference, but let me also maybe conclude my intervention with just recalling that basically, we so far European Union and member states mobilized almost 122 billion of support for Ukraine. The Ukraine facility, which entered into force on 1st March of this year, is about to provide 50 billion of predictable and flexible support. And out of this, more than 9 billion is part of Pillar 2, which is basically a framework for investment. And Director General of DG NEAR, the department of the Commission in charge of actually accession process of Ukraine, has just announced that Commission is basically opening call today for strategic investment projects, which European Commission will assess, will discuss, and will be willing to support. Because at the end of the day, it is the track record and pipeline of projects that is going to determine whether all those words, will translate into the reality of the ground. And of course, talking about the construction, this is that type of industry where indeed you see when things are happening, because this is visible, can be felt. So thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your intervention. And we have one more panelist, and I'm very pleased as a Norwegian today to have a representative from the Norwegian government in the panel. State Secretary for Trade, Industry and Fishery, Vegard Vennesland, is together with us. My first question to you before Lev is continuing. We are aware of several bilateral national initiatives with local municipalities and regions in Ukraine. Can you tell us if Norway is also involved in such initiatives, and if so, can you elaborate on these initiatives?
You mean that they cooperate with specific regions exclusively? Yeah,
that's correct.
Yes. So this is not a part of the Norwegian strategy when it comes to supporting Ukraine. Our strategy is more based on the whole of the country. We have the businesses that are in the forefront in Ukraine now from the Norwegian side. They are spread all over Ukraine. But I don't think this isn't, how should I say, we are not committed to only one way of looking at this. I completely recognize that this might be a way to kind of focus the business investment. I know some countries have worked like this, and it may work for them. So I wouldn't rule it completely out from our side. But for now, we are more focusing more specifically on actually getting projects up and running to get businesses to make agreements, make projects anywhere they can, basically.
Dear Vennesland, I would like to express my thanks for your on-standing support Norway has been given to Ukraine with regard to the military and civil measures. And actually, the support plan has been declared to invest a certain amount of money till 2030. We understand that the part of the sum can be accumulated for the rebuild processes, recovery processes. Of course, my question is, what, in your opinion, can be the most effective ways of cooperation in this field?
Well, thank you, and I feel humble when you are thanking Norway for the support we give to Ukraine. I think we should be thanking Ukraine for the resistance and the fighting you are doing against the aggression. So, but thank you anyway. You are right. We have we quite early got an agreement. We call it the Nansen program. It's a commitment. It was just prolonged, as you said, to 2030, committing 13 billion euros over that period. A lot to military support, but also a large amount to civilian support, and which includes investment in business. But a lot of the civilian support will also be, like we saw in the video, it will be demining, it's community programs and things like this. But I think I will say that for actual investments, this is something that's kind of been increased focus for us now. We have introduced new programs through our development agency, which will make funds available for investments in Ukraine. We, as a Norwegian government, I think are some of the areas and sectors where we have specific competence, like the energy sector, will be very relevant. I know there are several businesses here from the construction sector, but also finance. So I think this the way we are kind of introducing new programs now, I hope they will lead to more investment. The Nansen program, which you mentioned, has a specific component. We went to Parliament with it from the government side, and we have now a unanimous Parliament behind this way of thinking, not just year-by-year budget support, but long-term assistance and cooperation, which has complete agreement in Parliament. I think that's a strength in the way we have solved it, and it gives Ukraine the assurance that this will last through elections. I know right here now we have several more companies at this event than we have ever had in the previous years. And when I talk to them and I hear they are eager to help more, they want more programs like the ones we have introduced recently, which is through the development program, and I'm looking, we are looking at ways we can adjust our programs in that sense, and just to add one more thing, which I strongly believe is important, that we politicians, we will of course contribute with money through our budgets, but actually spending time and prioritizing this issue in our day-to-day calendars, in our public statements. My Minister of Trade and Industry, she was recently in Kyiv with a business delegation, the first time we have done this, and spending time on doing this, showing that there's political capital behind this, not only money but actual political will, I think is important, and it's quite frankly the least we can do, because we see that behind those kind of visits there will also be investments.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I would like to pay attention to this study. We have been working to involve foreign donors together with the construction branch, together with the board of members. We are looking into the ways and into the sort of information of the foreign investors look for in us, what we could improve. And now I would like to invite you to watch the video. For example, you have got the QR code, and you can use it and express your opinion. The questionnaire is completely anonymous, and we will use the data for cooperation with our potential investors. Thank you. The first session is over for now. I'm grateful to our speakers, to panelists, to people who participate in discussion. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our speakers for the discussion, and we will now move on to the discussion on the recovery of Ukraine. We will discuss new challenges, priorities, or sources of finance. I will invite. That will be Domenico Campogrande, Yevhen Metzger, Denis Hayova, Ima Hrenova-Шимкіна, Юлія Шевчук, Ліліана Горовецька. We will start our discussion, and I will give the floor
Good
to Domenico
afternoon.
Campogrande.
We can continue now with this new second panel, which is focusing on the challenges, on the priorities, on the financing, all very important topics for the future reconstruction of Ukraine. So I suggest we start immediately with the first speaker, Mr. Yevhen Metzger, chairman of the management board of the Ukrainian Financial Housing Company. Please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Yes, thank you for giving me opportunity to present our service, our program EOSELA. I switch on Ukrainian for everyone. Дійсно, я хочу презентувати програму.
I would like to present the program under the title SELA. In Ukraine, this is a popular program, and actually it makes Ukrainians' dreams come true. Yes, the housing sector looked differently before the war, and we understand that during this period, a lot of considerable progress and advancement has been done with this regard. But there are many buts. For example, 9 million of Ukrainian residential houses were of pretty low quality. And the average area for individual was not more than 12 square meters. So actually, the issue of a new housing construction was a pretty low quality, and there was low interest rates for mortgages. Moreover, mortgage as a notion was misinterpreted. Everyone knows that the housing sector has got quite serious damage in the result of the full-scale invasion of Russian Federation. And the situation is getting worse.
13 million Ukrainians, they lost their own homes, and part of the territory was occupied, and part of the facilities were destroyed because of drone attacks and so on. And we understand that we have forced internally displaced persons, and we have many millions of our citizens that had to leave the country. And then many parts of the territory were we had many challenges how to cope with that. And the authorities understood that the housing sector is composed of three main instruments that would help the country to recover: the social rent, also the mortgage projects and available and accessible mortgage products, and rent-to-own programs. And this is also having a part on the market. And what did we do? We launched a mortgage program. At the moment, it is a unique digitalized program, very quick and very user-friendly for users, and it's very transparent. Two projects in social rent and rent-to-own projects are being now discussed at the authorities in different cabinets, together with international financial institutions from various countries. And once we know the results and the solutions, we will probably be able to announce them. And some of the decisions have already been taken, and the projects are being implemented. What is Yeoselia? Yeoselia looks like a general mortgage product, but in fact it is subsidized. Indeed, it has standard parameters up to 20 years to 20% as a down payment, as a first payment, and this is targeted at people who want to go back to Ukraine after learning or after the war, people who have nowhere to live. And the program is focused on two key target groups. The first one is the military, medical personnel, and scientists and teachers. These are the people who really decided to serve the country by the sake of their profession in municipal, in governmental structures. So another category and target group are veterans, IDPs, people with low incomes, and people who have no housing of their own. So we do not provide lending for people who already have some housing and who earn a high income. So the most important element in Yeoselia is that it's fully digitized. We have a single access window. It's a governmental platform called DIR, which is the government and myself, and we also work with official data. So a person who wants to submit an application, then they have just a single button, then they push the button, and then it takes around 2 minutes, because the program automatically accumulates data from 14 official registers. So we have about 300 data points by a person, and then we send it to bank agents or banking agents. And then there are some rules to calculate a lending capacity of this potential applicant, and then this person will finish the coffee and then will get a reply very quickly. 3.5 seconds was the quickest turnaround time. So it wasn't hours or days or months, it was seconds. This has changed the logic of mortgage lending. And then the people would get an answer about their lending creditability, and then they have an amount of dollars that they can spend, and then they would look for housing. This was a traditional mortgage program. But in Ukraine, we also have non-digitized old models of mortgage lending, whereas this Yeoselia is a very new and friendly product. We have already completed 14,000 plus Ukrainian loans for Ukrainian families, and then they cost over $55 million. And we have included a banking system into that, and then people would not have to collect documents or wait in a queue. They just get a decision that's all very quick and very transparent. So our metrics, we would have, a statistical family would be 2 to 3 people, the average family income over $1,000, and then they spend around $400 to cover the mortgage. Why is that $400? It's an average rental amount of money in the country. And we're very happy that 8,500 children were given their own homes under the program, and we have already financed over 848,000 square meters of living space. So the best mortgage year of the country was 2021. All of the banking system and all of the mortgage institutions, then they actually generated a loaning portfolio of $215 million. It might be little for other European countries, but it's a lot for Ukraine. And then it's just one company and one digitized product. And we did that within 1 year. And then we also talk about the military and non-military, so the year under aggression or without the aggression. This really is the distinction that we need to make. And you saw the figures for the other years on the slide. Based on our experience, we do not only provide financing, we also work with land development companies and construction companies. We have selected the most transparent models and the most transparent companies that actually are very transparent about the payment of the taxes, about the defense of rights of investors and lenders. And then this system existed over 30 years, which was maybe less transparent, and now we have established more transparent rules, and now 90 construction companies are working with us, and then we have 190 houses under construction, and people are buying that housing. So Oselia on construction is a quality mark, and construction companies are telling us that this drives demand. So this kind of transparent instrument is working well. Our challenges, we have over 250,000 applications in the system, and then 100,000 of applications have been accepted by banks, but we have covered only 13,000. So we need to look for money, and the money is around $4 billion. And that's why we're here. If you have an investment fund, if you are a government or a government institution, we can discuss your financial interests in Ukraine and how you can invest in building construction and earn money by helping Ukraine. If you're a land development company or any other construction sector company, then we can talk about transparent terms of collaboration, and then step by step we will be moving towards ensuring greater transparency. So if you want to help any segment of our customers, mothers with children, veterans, people who have returned from being POWs, then we can ensure you with access to our digital system. We can give you feedback, and we can tell you how we have used your funding and whom we have helped. So please contact us. We will discuss various kinds of ideas, and we're ready and open to receive your help and your ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your very interesting intervention. I have two questions for you.
Дякую за
The first one is the one that you just mentioned. So there are still huge amounts of funding that will be needed. So what would be your 2-3 main arguments that you would put forward in front of international funding institute to attract them and push them to invest into what you are doing? This is the first question. The second one is related to what was mentioned in the previous panel. So in the perspective of Ukraine to join the EU, there is also a need, and this is what we hear, not just to reconstruct a country, but to rebuild a new country, also according to EU standards. And do you provide some facilities, incentives for housing which fulfills more than in the past European standards in terms of energy efficiency, green environmental standards? So are there any facilities, incentives also to promote this type of investment into this type of housing?
Так, дякую за запитання.
Thank you for your question. Our company being solely financial one, it has been created according to the three levels of protection, including independent experts, experts. So we even have collaborated with American company that gave us some consultancies on constructing our way of doing business in Ukraine. Another thing is that we have a steady communication process with other institutions. We try to engage not only funds, but of course we are looking for the possible ways to engage the guarantees. So, for example, if there are some good signs of the progress, when the agreements are finalized, of course, I will share these results with you. With regard to the standards, we established for housing sector. Yes, you're right. I haven't mentioned it in my report. Taking into consideration the constant change of rules, our companies, our housing companies, we provide mortgage for the objects, for the housing facilities that have got their signs of being eligible and comply with the European standards.
Thank you very much. And we will go now to the second presentation from the national level. We step one step higher, go to the international with Mr. Denis Gayovi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Coming from the EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And I apologize for the ladies on the panel because we are not very polite. We let the men speak before you, but this is the order that was foreseen in the program, so I apologize for this. We'll do better next time.
Well, I can certainly allow Julia Shevchuk to go first, but in any case, we are good partners with our NEFCO colleagues. So whoever starts, will, we are happy since we are working on a number of projects together. I'll probably switch to Ukrainian. Я переключу.
I'm going to switch to Ukraine. So let me just thank you for the invitation. This is a very topical topic, and this is a very important platform for us to talk to you about things that we can do, what we have been doing, and we would like to also involve you and everybody into the work to the reconstruction and recovery of Ukraine, including infrastructure. As regards our activity in Ukraine, our bank works very actively in Ukraine, more actively than before the full-scale aggression, and then we invested billions of euro every year, and now it's going to be altogether nearly 5 billion euro, and then we're going to we're going to increase that sum of money. And then we are now working with donors, and we also work with grants from the EU and a number of countries, including the US. And we are very actively supporting its collaboration, and we are very thankful to all those who support us. As regards our trajectories, we think about the energy infrastructure. Energo received nearly €500 million, and also renewable energy sources. We're now working with a number of public, municipal, and private companies to make sure that we include and involve regenerative capacities to compensate for all of the losses that the sector has suffered. These are very active directions of our work. If you have any willingness and ideas, just come and join us and contact us. As regards infrastructure, this is a big direction of our work. Logistics, transport, After and the railway company, and we have invested almost 350 million euros in the railway transport, and we are planning new projects for public infrastructure, also in the railways and also in other critical directions. And we're also very active in the municipal sector, and it will be heating, water supply, public transport, and so on and so forth. So there are all of those areas. Now we're working with 28 cities and towns, and we are expanding this collaboration also by involving new financing companies. We work in Kiev and Kharkiv on major projects on the underground system. They actually started before the war, and they are being continued. In Lviv, we are working with colleagues from NEFCO, and there are many other projects there. So this is a very important element of collaboration, and we're trying to support everything and motivate that. And of course, this is all financed by grants and grant funding. And also we have support from a number of international organizations and donors. And also there are bilateral agreements between Ukraine and other partners. So we have a lot of grant support, especially in municipal projects. Another big area of our work is the support for food security and agriculture and all of the related investments. Our colleagues are working for that. I am not personally involved in that, but there is a number of projects that are being financed, projects with major agricultural companies and then many others. And this area of activity is going to be continued, and there is opportunity for growth. And there is another big field, commercial banks and the financial sector at large. We have been working with them, and there could be some funds to support SMEs. Ukrainsima has signed a program for the support of small, medium-sized businesses and municipalities. These are smaller programs starting from €10 million. We cannot, as EBRD, get involved in such small projects. And the last project block that is very important for us is the support for the private sector. So there was a good example of Pharmaco, which received support for current working capital. They actually suffered and they lost their warehousing facility with pharmaceutical equipment, and at the beginning of the war, they had to stop their activities, and they needed emergency support, and they received it from us. So this was critical for us. As regards collaboration, we would like to ask the following. If you are interested, and if you feel that you can collaborate directly, with us, or if you can offer support for projects that are up to or over the threshold of 10 million euro, you can contact me directly. If this is municipal infrastructure, transport infrastructure, I will give you immediate feedback. If this is within the area of responsibility of my colleagues, then I can just refer you to colleagues that work with the power sector or others. The second block is the possibility to take part in public tenders. All of the projects that we have are going through a public tendering procedure. This is a public platform which is transparent, and you can take part in those tendering procedures as vendors, as construction companies, whatever capacity suits you. And you can also be an engineering company or a consulting company as well. So if you're interested in taking part, please get registered on the platform, and you will have access to all of those projects, not just in Ukraine, but there is also 40 other countries where projects are being conducted. But of course, for us, Ukraine is the most important country, and there is a range of projects that are now being conducted. So please get registered, and we will be happy to see you. We will be happy to get you involved. Maybe you would like to supply equipment, maybe you would like to construct something. We're also ready to work with engineering companies and companies that provide due diligence and help our clients, and also to help us as EBRD, as a development bank. So this is where I would stop, and maybe we could move on to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. One first question that I would like to ask you. We hear regularly that one of the major concerns in terms of investment financing is all the issues related to transparency, good governance, these kind of things. What kind of mechanism, and you mentioned public procurement, did you put in place some kind of mechanism or tools for ensuring an adequate monitoring of these aspects, and also maybe some follow-up measures that you do to ensure that the money that you have put into a project is done in a proper manner according to the rules? What did you do in this respect?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a very good question, which is, important for us, but important also for the donors who are supporting those projects. So from that perspective, definitely in all of our projects, we are going through public procurement through the electronic platform, ESAP, EBRD platform. We are very much incorporating, this independent review and independent monitoring and assessment from internationally renowned companies, project engineers into our projects. So we provide, with technical assistance support, we provide project implementation, project monitoring consultant. We support the clients with going through those public procurement issues. And we're also supporting Ukrainian government, and we have been supporting for a while with reforms. Yeah, and a number of reforms are critical. And those reforms have actually been happening. They are helping Ukraine to, progress on this direction. One particular reform which springs to mind is Prozoro. We've supported implementation of Prozoro, which is obviously Ukrainian public procurement platform. We have, as a separate policy stream, supported reform support actions teams in a number of ministries. So, so that the reforms would be continuing. So that's a separate work stream. And there's another related sort of work stream. We've supported reform of SOEs in terms of corporate governance and anti-corruption reform, introduction of independent board members, and again, you have a different, compliance and anti-corruption actions which are critical for SOEs, and a lot of public funding goes through those SOEs. Ukrainian Railways, Ukrenergo, Naftogaz, and so forth. So from that perspective, we are very much, supportive of the corporate governance reforms that has happened. when we see any setbacks, we are trying to help Ukrainian government to address it as well from our side.
And you mentioned a lot of initiatives that you are taking already during the war period, but what do you have already plans? I guess what would be your priorities for the post-war recovery period?
Yeah, well, from our perspective, we need to do a lot right now. Yeah, there is not much. I mean, given that the war sort of drags on, we need to do a lot of things now, and we need to prepare for even more for expansion of potential investments. You know, once the war is over. So from that perspective, we are happy to continue to work with the Ukrainian government, with the ministries, with the Agency for Reconstruction on developing, on supporting the actions now, on supporting critical projects now, but also on developing plans, you know, for the future as well. We are happy to see that there is some progress with DREAM platform, with single project pipeline, with a number of actions that could streamline our support to public sector. We would definitely be looking to expand also in private sector support across, you know, those critical areas that we've mentioned. So from that perspective, the important probably thing is to act now, but with an objective to increase the financing once, you know, the security situation allows.
Thank you very much. We can go now to the next speaker, Mrs. Ima Karenova-Shimkina, Project Manager for the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. If I translate, is the German company for international cooperation, more or less. So if you could briefly also explain what you are doing and what are your areas of activities at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. It's working?
Yes.
Great. I see a lot of old friends and hope to have new friends during this event. And I see a lot of optimism today because it's if we compare the first years of the war and now and all this kind of event and exhibition, we can see that the help and support from different countries is still with us. And as I am representing Deutsche Gesellschaft, what we call GIZ, it's a support of German government. I probably will switch it off also to Ukrainian then.
You probably know the work of our company, and we have been reforming Ukraine over 30 years. And now, with the war, we know we're not alone, and then we know that everybody is supporting us. And through our company, that has 560 people in Ukraine. It has many components. I work in the cluster of energy and climate. I will tell you a little bit more about that later, but we, of course, good governance sector. We also have the cluster for resilience, where we support Ukraine in connection with the war. Since 2014, a lot has been restored and supported in those regions that needed our attention. And then now we're developing transparency policies. We are providing a lot of support to digitization. So the strategy of German government is to support countries that want change, that want to reform themselves. And our assistance is called technical assistance. It is technical in the sense that we are helping Ukraine to create conditions for investments, for long-term survival, for long-term reforms. And now a big focus is to help Ukraine to become part of European community. And as you know, we really need quite a lot of homework to be part of Europe. That's why we're working with the national level of authorities in energy efficiency, in climate. We work with with a number of national institutions, the Parliament, the Cabinet of Ministers, the Minister of Infrastructure and others, the Agency for Recovery, the Agency for Energy Efficiency, in order to help them to formulate a package of legal acts to make sure that everything works efficiently in the country and make sure that these pieces of legislation are in alignment with EU directives to make sure that this corresponds with all the criteria. As regards energy sector and climate, a lot remains to be done. We have done a lot of projects in energy efficiency, and we actually started a discussion about different forms of energy even before the war. And of course, we have new challenges. Now we have support for inventarization. So we are now purchasing worth of 20 or 40 million euro to help our municipalities, so local government units. We have many partners among them. We started by forming energy plans, forming energy management. We taught them to think systematically about energy sector. And all of those institutions are working at the municipal level. They involve and invite investments. We have many partners. There is a lot of learning. There is a lot of care and a lot of work with financial instruments. We need people for all that. So we have a big component of work, which is working with teaching and education. We all need professionals. We all need experts. We need, I would say, an army of experts who know about new energy technologies, energy efficiency. They need to be designed, and we need hands to actually do all that in building sites. And that's why we work with universities. And this is a very active piece of work for the German government in the recovery programs. As you know, Germany and many other European countries have many new technologies. They have many educational programs, and this is all essential. We also work very actively with the business sector. We help to develop business also in the field of energy and climate. We also teach energy management, energy audits, energy recovery, and so on and so forth. If we change anything, then this should be changing for the better. If we talk about business, then we started off 6 or 5 years ago. This was work with certain companies, and they actually weren't very willing to undergo free of charge energy audit. Companies were afraid of being transparent. And now everybody has understood that this kind of energy audit that makes a company transparent is actually very useful. And this has worked across Europe, and we're actively implementing that and putting that in place. So let me just say that over 15 legislative acts have been adopted to help comprehensive reforms, such as the reform of energy efficiency in procurement. For instance, anybody who spends public money should really be transparent, and even the system will enable those buyers to select energy efficient materials. Previously, the main criterion was lower price, and lower price doesn't always mean energy efficient. On the contrary, and in new construction projects, energy efficiency is really crucial, and we're very happy that this has worked. We have educated over 500 students. This is our army. These are our hands that are going to continue that work. We have quite a lot of support provided to municipalities. These are our traditional partners. We've always worked with them. And we have 13 various projects in our cluster. And then we started a new project that unites energy and agriculture. So we're developing ourselves. Ukraine is developing, and it needs new support. And this is how the German government is actually making contributions and helping Ukraine to meet those challenges. This creates incentive mechanisms that we all need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's, I think, very interesting example of how bilateral initiatives can also help and prepare the reconstruction. In most of the EU member states, there is certainly a political willingness and push to go for more sustainable solution, greener solution, energy efficiency, and is certainly one of the highest topics that is being discussed. But at the same time, greener solutions at the moment are more expensive than traditional ones. So what are the messages that you can give to especially municipalities or smaller authorities to go towards that kind of solution, which can be more expensive, rather than the traditional ones?
Thank you for this question. This discussion is 15 years I'm working on this field, and 15 years we have this question in the top. So first, what I would like to say that now the technology is not so more expensive than traditional one, because we see that the market is proposing a lot of different kind of solution, and there is
I'm going to switch to Ukrainian. We had a pilot project with a German architecture. We did that in Ukraine, and he also did that in Germany. And one of the German municipalities actually announced a tender to reconstruct a school. And then there were various concepts, and then we just felt, oh, there was 1 million or 4 million, this is too much of a money, but not enough to have, energy efficient buildings and passive housing, as they say. And then this architect comes and offers something which is cheaper and more economical, and then he wins this tender. And we had similar situations in Ukraine. So you just really need to know how and have the know-how. And then if you have the knowledge and innovative technologies, then this actually gives the best outcomes. Earlier on, we were just handing out grants to our towns, and we're just saying, okay, let's do an energy efficiency project. Let's enhance the energy efficiency of a building, in this municipality or another. But now municipalities already have energy efficiency management systems. The mayors, heads of towns, they have undergone training. They have seen examples across Europe, so they know what to do. Now we need to teach auditors who audit municipalities to understand energy efficiency. And then we have conducted a pilot project in the Ministry of Finance. You might see that on a website. We have solar panels. So we're teaching these institutions how to understand energy efficiency via the pilot projects.
Thank you. And do you also provide support to these authorities in relation to public procurement to help them to take into account also other criteria than price only for the award of more sustainable solution?
Yes, this is a reform what we are doing last few years, and we are so happy that we did it. We integrate to the Prozoro system. It's you probably heard it's Prozoro. It's a public procurement, Ukrainian public procurement. And if you are using this solution, you can go there and select the energy efficient materials, energy efficient works, and it's not connected to the price as it was before. It's a very good result of this year.
I think you will need to teach a lot of other authorities in other countries as well how to do that. That will be important. We can go to the next speaker, Mrs. Yulia Shevchuk, Chief Investment Advisor of Nesco, who is working on the financing of green recovery in Ukraine. Please.
Yes, hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here. I will switch to Ukrainian now.
Dear colleagues, I think that we have quite a few international organizations here, and our goal is to show what you can actually do during the war, even without waiting until the end, because the role of international organizations during the war is to help us to pave the way to recovery for decades. So let me tell you about our experience. Could you please switch to the next slide, because I can't really do it myself. Oh, thank you. So let me tell you about a program. It's called Green Recovery Program that was started right after the start of the war in NEFCO, and now we are running around 50 municipal projects at the same time. This is a very inspiring fact, and at the same time, it's huge responsibility for us. We work with critical infrastructure such as water, heat, waste disposal, as well as recovery or housing for internationally displaced people. We also have other important components. On the next slide, I would like to show you our practical projects. For instance, the project which is called Housing for IDPs, which is financed by European Union. The budget is 100 million euro, and we have 11 municipalities of Ukraine taking part in it. Our ambitious goal is to build housing for IDPs for 4,000 people, and then to renovate public buildings for 5,000 people. Well, what have we achieved so far? In the city of Lviv, we signed agreements in November last year, and we plan a handover of the first building. It took 1 year. For Ukraine, this is a very quick pace of work, and regretfully, because of the war, we haven't accelerated the design and the construction cycle, so we're very proud to have been so fast. Another program is Repair for Critical Infrastructure, 46 million euro for investment grants for all of the destroyed and demolished municipalities, towns and villages. There was hardly any potential. We did everything ourselves with consultants. That includes water, wastewater, and heating. And I would like to just say that all of the grant agreements were signed in 2023. And as of mid-2024, we have already run 45 tenders. 33 projects are ongoing, and 6 projects have been completed. You can see some of our projects on these photographs. Yet another interesting and very ambitious project that we call the School of the Future. It is a school with zero energy consumption, NZEB, near zero energy building. Actually, this was mentioned earlier. And this is a photograph of this building in Kherson that was built before the war. It was a green school. Regretfully, it has been fully ruined now. And there was a decision to build a similar school, and we're waiting for the grant from Finland. And the interesting moment about this project is that a new and innovative concept was proposed. As you know, that school buildings are highly regulated in Ukraine. There are certain requirements about space and so on. So zero energy is very hard to achieve. So we are trying to employ different norms of ventilation, thermal insulation, and many other technologies. Regretfully, we have realized that in accordance to the existing construction standards in our country, we will not be able to put this kind of score into use. This is why we have requested a pilot project status for the score, so that it doesn't have to apply with these criteria. Another important project, support from Sweden, the right handling of debris from demolished or destroyed buildings. This project is going on in Irpin, and the right handling strategy is going to be developed. In particular, we're going to have asbestos handling rules, and we are going to have 5 pilot buildings. At the moment, this project is being developed. Let me now to tell you about a situation in Ukraine that you all know. So we have major challenges in our country related to the war, of course. And in this respect, I would like to express respect to our local communities that are very stress resilient and very reliable as partners. One of the municipalities fully repaid our loan within a few months before the occupation. They just decided that repaying the loan to an international organization, it was a priority, even though they knew that the town was already destroyed and they would soon be occupied. So this is an example of reliability. And then, of course, we have the challenges such as military conscription, municipal budget deficits, transparency issues, bureaucracy, controlling authorities, but we still have the capacities to implement projects. And there have been some lessons learned that are presented here. In particular, I would like to just say that we have established procurement rules that are supposed to rely on lessons learned. And now we have a few examples of procurement projects close to Russian border, which is a wastewater station, and we're undergoing a comprehensive upgrade. At the moment, we don't know how much capacity this station should have because we don't know how many people are going to return there. We have a successful tender, but people did not have sufficient experience, and this project was not very interesting for foreign partners either. So we have resorted to a pessimistic scenario. We're going to reduce the capacity of that station, and we're going to also have a short list of investors to invite them in a targeted procedure. Another reflection is how do we work within the war conditions? There is a high level of risk. There is sufficient contingency planning that should really be included. We have a compliance system that uses all of the open sources and projects. This is how we select our consultants and many other aspects or vendors. Our vendors and our subcontractors are shortlisted, and we have softened our requirements for them. But we also have compensatory rules, very thorough monitoring of projects. We also have separated the payments into smaller batches. That requires more human resources and more effort, but then at least we're not standing still, we're working. And then the capacities of our municipalities is something that deserves a mention. We would like to invite a very professional manager. You will pay hundreds of euro to this manager, and this manager will generate millions of euro because no consultants can replace the steady workers of municipal administration, but they should work in unison. Thank you very much for your attention. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. It's interesting what you mentioned in the first point there, lack of contractors. From what we hear, I think the contractors are there. They have difficulties in finding labor, finding workforce to do the work. So I think we are in a bit of a strange situation where there is funding, there are projects, but the capacity it's not following. So I think this is certainly something that we need to look at. In your presentation, it was quite interesting to see that you have been working both with EU funding, like the European Union, but as well with national. You mentioned Sweden, you mentioned Finland. So what would be, from your perspective, the positive and the maybe less positive aspects of working with an international institutions like the European institutions, or compared to national governments? Are there advantages or disadvantages that you have seen in working with the two, or for you the situation was more or less the same?
Well, it's an interesting question because it's difficult to compare because they are our founders, like the Nordic countries, and our donors.
I didn't want to put you in a difficult situation with your donors. I'm sorry about that.
No, thank you. I think that EU funding usually require more reporting, much more reporting, and more transparency, more reputational issues. Otherwise, we are very pleased to work with funding from our founders because there is more trust and more longer-term relations with them. They know us very well. But we are pleased to work with both the EU funds and Nordic governments funds.
Okay. And in view of the end of the war and the post-war situation, what are your plans or expectations?
We are expecting to expand, of course, our activities, and more focus will be on green projects, of course, renewable energy, and we hope that reforms finally happen in Ukraine and more climate policy will be developed, and that will attract more investments.
Thank you. We have now the last speaker in our panel, Mrs. Ilyana Korovishka, which will give a different perspective also from the support to Ukraine, looking more at the humanitarian aid also as a way of investing in the future of Ukraine. Please.
That's true. Good afternoon, everyone. CORE is an international humanitarian organization that been founded. Can you switch on the presentation, please? The other one. Our organization been founded after the earthquake in Haiti that happened in 2010. It was devastating earthquake, and this is the place where our two co-founders met. One of our co-founder is the Oscar-winning actor and director Sean Penn, and one of our civil activists and international working Ann Lee. They met there, and since then our organization expanded to almost 13 locations all over the world. CORE delivers immediate response and long-term solution to underserved community all over the world. Our ultimate goal is to support community in the way that they are sustainable, that they are developing without not only our support, but without anyone's support. Everything that we do, we try not just to bring money and do ourselves. We always work in close communication and cooperation, and moreover, engagement of community. Today, I want to share with you our experience of working with business corporation. The one that actually we met, our co-founders met in Haiti, and they started to work over there. And I want to show that this cooperation gives not only support to community, but it's also the front door for business to explore opportunities in different way in different country, and it opens this door. Just a second. Yeah. Since then, like, we all know that there are a lot of philanthropists and big business that usually supports civil society or other development initiatives, but it's not the very common practice when business or big private donors support humanitarian organization. However, there are cases, and one of this is our cooperation with one of the biggest, I think, Asia corporation. This is the Korean, South Korea, considering recent developments in Ukraine corporation. This is Global SEA Group. If you had the chance to travel the world, you probably, and especially in Dubai or in Seoul or in Asia, you definitely use roads, subways, or bridges or airports that one of their subsidiary built. They built, I forgot the name, one of the 3 tallest hotel in the world in Dubai. But I will just don't remember quite the name. Overall, they are business, but they started to support humanitarian initiatives in Haiti. And this is how we met. And in 2012, through public-partner partnership with U.S. Department of State, with USAID, with IDB, SEA and CORE developed and created industrial complex with an area, it's 2.5 million square meter, and this territory produced 200 million worth of product annually in Haiti. This is not only it wasn't like an overall business project, it was support to community. They created 50,000 working place, and this definitely helped Haiti, but it's also helped, also supported the corporation. In Ukraine, SEA, when the full-scale war started, SEA immediately reacted first with the humanitarian support, with supporting the basic needs, by helping us to provide food, water, emergency items. And then after like this emergency phase, we're still in emergency phase in some region, but after that the corporation allocated funding for development project. Together with them, we developed several, and we helped to reconstruct several big facilities. I will show later a very short video when you see that they supported to rebuild the social infrastructure, school, bomb shelters. Now we are finalizing the bomb shelter in hospital in Mykolaiv, and a lot of other projects. Together we want to make life in community more comfortable, and so people live with dignified condition. This is what, it's not just to, when basic needs are covered, you are starting to think about development projects. And as we want people we are not encouraging to return in not secure area, but we want people to return where it's possible to live, and if they have place where to live, if they have place where to work, if they have water, gas, and all other, they will start to think about how to develop their community. SEA is supporting us not only with funding, but they also provide expert support in a specific area. One of their subsidiaries is a construction company, Sanyang. And one of their engineers is now in Bucha, and we are doing the joint project of ReBuild and Rehabilitation Center for Children. And this is how they bring their expertise to our work and to work in Ukraine. we all appreciate any support that we receive. And I want to highlight that this cooperation is beneficiary for both parties. On our example, our example can demonstrate that through providing humanitarian support and helping alleviate pains in Ukrainian communities, this helps business to explore the country, to find information about new possible project, use opportunity for recovery, and then when Ukraine win, it will give them much more knowledge to invest in different projects, because specifically in our case, this is completely new market, but if you're losing time, you're losing time. Now you have a chance to know how the system works, how people works, what are the needs, and assess what is needed. When you have this knowledge, you know what to do and you can plan already, even if you are not ready to invest right now, but this helps to understand where to explore market and start thinking about that. Even before the war, Ukraine was appealing for investment, and I'm sure it's still attractive and will be even more attractive after the war. And when there are businesses that are still thinking and watching from the other side, there are others who are taking the places, who are thinking where to go, how to help. And I think that can bring more, not only to Ukraine, because we do believe as Ukrainians, as those who are working there. But for those who are still thinking, don't think. Just try to explore the country and you will see how much Ukraine can suggest. Thank you very much. I have video to show if you can. This is just a brief overview of what we've done for these 2 years with SEA. Could you please? Yeah, thank you. This is very brief information how we worked, but probably then I want to say that as Tolkien in Lord of the Rings said that darkness will pass and the new day will come, and when it comes, the sun will shine brighter. And you definitely want to be under that sun, but you need to help us to go through the darkness. Thank you very much. And last but not least, I want to thank organizer for bringing a lot of people together, for raising this important, not only this, but other important topics. And moreover, I want to thank Ukrainian Armed Forces for giving us an opportunity to be here, to talking about Ukraine, to thinking about the developments, because without them, I don't think that anyone would be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When we speak about sustainability in general, we often relate it to environmental issues, but we forget that sustainability is also economic, is environmental and social aspects. So I think that this is an argument, of course, to sensibilize companies also to go into your direction, supporting your initiatives. Do you see, as you operate in all over the world, do you see a different sensibility, I don't know if it exists, to these kind of arguments in the different parts of the world? Are there countries where they are more willing to intervene on the basis of this argument than others where maybe there needs to be a little bit more awareness raising initiatives that need to be done?
We work in different countries with different regime, and like Sudan, Haiti, and it's very hard to work there because people, like overall, there is no good governance, there is no institutions. These are a very risky area, and we face different situation. Yes, definitely always raise an awareness, even if when we are working, and we also trying to fight, sometimes this corruption, it's not fight, but sometimes it's hard to, when you need to do it fast, you sometimes not taking into account different aspects. With us, we have very strong regulations, but they allow us to be flexible, and we always balancing in being fast, being sustainable, and meeting the obligation, because money that we are receiving is not only business, but we need to be accountable how we spend our money, where we are giving it. That would be always sensibility, because when you are going to people, when you're talking to them, you want to help them all. But for us, we need to help to build the institutions or support the community so community can support the people. And on Ukrainian case, I think that Ukrainian and all over international organization, when they all started to work first in 2013, but mostly in 2022, they not completely, but they changed their approach of how they are working. Because for example, in the beginning, it was the idea that this is very independent area. They are not engaged in any local government initiatives, but when they saw how government supported or what government put in supporting Ukrainians, then it became very close cooperation with government from different perspective. And yes, international organizations changed their approaches a lot in working in country in war as Ukraine, because none of organization, UN, USAID, they have experience of working in war, but not in development countries.
And what are the major problems or concerns that you find in Ukraine in particular? It's certainly a problem of logistics, but what are the main problems or difficulties that you are confronted with?
My colleagues mentioned it. I think for us, because we engaged in a lot of construction projects, it's people resources, for sure. Conscription, definitely, and this is where we need to follow, and this is like other livelihoods program where we are doing the revocational trainings for different groups. Logistic, yes, but again, it's I think the state, this is on the government. We do not face that much because we do a very good assessment, and we know and we are assessing all risk when we are going somewhere. The first and foremost is security, because you never know. This is, it's not that that earthquake can happen and then it might not happen in next 2 years. And you definitely cannot predict earthquake as well. But in Ukraine, our target territory is from Kharkiv and down to Mykolaiv. And this is where we are planning without plan. We discuss with, by the way, the representative of Saya Sanyang. He is here today, and we discuss what are the challenges that we can plan, but we never know what to do, and we are adapting our strategy. So I think that people resources, security is still an issue, no matter what we are doing.
Thank you very much. We still have a few minutes before the coffee break. I don't know if there are questions or comments from the audience. You have one? No, perfect. You understood everything. That's great. Nobody? Yes, there is one hand. The microphone is coming. And please, maybe briefly present yourself and to whom you would like to ask the question.
Present myself. I'm Stuart Kowalski. I'm professor at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. I specialize in social technical analysis of systems. I was interested in the social aspect because I have some history of the Ukraine. And I see this as a very secular reconstruction. I know that it was in a case, a religious soul in Ukraine. I'm just wondering what role religious institutions have played in terms of this reconstruction.
I think it was a question mainly probably addressed to you.
If this institution influenced the overall, or
I don't see them mentioned at all in this reconstruction.
Well, by what?
The social reconstruction, how is it secular, how much is it secular, how much is it religious?
Well, for us, social, you mean like housing and all of this?
Yeah.
If we do it, we do it. But for us, we are not building it from the scratch. We are assessing the communities, and we looking where we can like repair houses, repair social infrastructure, water, gas, to help people to live and to.
But does your social include religious institutions?
If we are consulting with them while doing
or
it.
Or rebuilding churches?
No. No.
That used to be a major component of.
I can tell you that this is not in our target. We know that there are a lot of institutions that support specifically this, but we are not focusing on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I don't see any other hands. We are a little bit ahead of the schedule. So I would like to thank very much all the speakers from the panel. Thank you for your attention. And we have now in the program an enhanced coffee break. So I think you will really enjoy it. And we should be back, I don't know, if we start a little bit earlier also. So we say 30 minutes, the coffee break.